We don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. This ends at, Jamie, what time? I think at 4, right? And then you have about 2 hours to prepare for dinner. I guess it's a black tie dinner or something. And so, black shirt dinner. Yeah. See, I'm all ready. First of all, I want to thank all of you, Sika, for inviting me. First of all, to be here and to be talking to you after your dinner time. I hope they're not serving turkey so that you're all sleeping by the time I speak. And Jamie will make sure that I stay on target. But for this workshop, this idea was we have about 45 minutes or so. We're going to talk about knowing your allies and your adversaries locally. Is there someone here who can help? Is this the only roving mic?
No, there's another wireless mic that I have back here, and I'm happy to bring it around for you, Marty.
Oh, thank you. First of all, is there anybody in the room here that knows what we're talking about in terms of allies and adversaries? Can someone just briefly? Actually, we're going to make him run around. Then we're going to go. Go ahead. What's your name?
Ellen Rollins, SEIU Local 521, Home Care Vice President and Public Authority Advisory Board member of 3 months, 1 month. And really proud to be in the partnership. Sika is an ally. Okay, adversaries are armed. I don't think I can put in that.
I like the way you said that. Anybody else? And this seems to be stuck. I'm not quite sure why. I must be doing something wrong.
You might need to escape out and restart.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Just another suggestion of what we're talking about here, allies and adversaries?
Yeah, an example of an adversary might be certain legislators who oppose spending on social services, reflexively.
And way back there, are you getting enough exercise?
Yes, Jacqueline Jackson from San Diego. I feel an ally is someone who values and respects us and our mission and cause and is passionate. And the adversary are people that don't respect us, that don't value us.
Thank you. And one more up here.
Oh, no.
I just kind of want you to.
I think Marty is over our biggest ally.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Okay.
I paid him to say that, actually. Before we go on, I just want to say why I'm here. I'm a family member of my 2 sisters. There are reasons why I'm an advocate. They both passed away. One has developmental disabilities. The other one didn't have health care. I show their pictures. As many of you who have heard me speak before, I speak of them, and it may one more time I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it as often wherever I go. And I expect you to do the same for the people that you love and you care about. Don't let the world forget why you are here. We are here, I am here, not to defend a program. I think all of us are here not to defend a program. We are here to defend lives and the rights of people who need those services, but it's the people that matter the most. And that's why Sika is so important. Now to get back to this allies, and so I show my pictures of my sisters because I want the world to know, the world in this room. And it reminds me always to stay true to the things that we work for. And so when I get tired or frustrated or upset, or I don't like dinner or whatever it is, I look at their pictures and remember that's why I'm here. That's why I believe in what I do. And it keeps me focused, keeps my eye on the prize. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but let's go back to the allies and adversaries. You mentioned people who don't respect us and people who do back there, correct?
Yes.
First, one other question I'm going to ask you, why is it important to have allies and why is it important to recognize who our adversaries are? And then I'm going to kind of follow up on what you said, actually, in terms of recognizing who our allies are.
I think
just wait for him to.
Recognizing our allies allows us to find people who walk with us, find people who have like minds, and that we may rise with each other, and our visions can soar in a way that if we're bickering, if we're fighting against someone, if we're trying to coax someone into a way of thinking, we don't look forward. We don't plan for that 5 years ahead or 10 or however long it takes. I think that having adversaries gives us strength and to know where not to go, and to also develop dialogue for those people that are different than when we're talking openly and with our hearts soaring.
And why is that important? That means you
Because
raise a good point there. Talking to hear different points of view from different people in our community. I mean, and then how does that help us?
Because I'm advocate for myself. I've been in chair for 30 years. And so it took me going to a Native American disability conference in '92 to understand that there's blind people, there's hearing impaired, there's people who are disabled from birth. It's not just wheelchair people like I was advocating for myself. So my vision was bigger, not only because I was with the whole crew of Native American people, over 300 in Phoenix. So it just gets bigger, and your heart is bigger, and you can carry more, and you know you're not alone.
Thank you very much for what you said. You mentioned some very important points. I'm kind of doing this reverse of seeing what you know and then trying to elaborate. What you said was that you started to recognize, which was this is very important, that the community that is ours, that we belong to. I'm not talking about the city or the county. I'm talking about the community of people with disabilities, seniors, and mental health needs that you belong to. You started recognizing it was more than just a person who's been diagnosed with a certain type of disability that puts them in a wheelchair, that our community was larger than that. And that's really important. Going back on your point, it's not just that we want people to respect us and therefore they become our ally. It is we have to respect them and start learning about them and their issues. I speak from experience. 10 years ago, when I started CDCAN, California Disability Community Action Network, I was a one-person operation. 10 years later, I'm a one-person operation. But, okay, that's not the change. But what is different is when I started it, it was the idea that I was tired that information about policy making was only going to lobbyists. Nothing wrong with lobbyists, but it was only going to a select few people in Sacramento or trade associations or statewide groups, not going to the people on the street. And so I started seeing a need. So I started writing information that would go to anybody. I didn't restrict it. And I realized also that our community was not just people with developmental disabilities, which is where my sister came from, or people with physical disabilities in a wheelchair, or the blind, or just people who are deaf, or people with mental health needs. It was people with traumatic brain injuries, it was seniors, people with Alzheimer's, people with mental health needs and special education. The list goes larger. And my feeling was, while it was more challenging me to write to such a larger audience, it came to me, as it should come to all of you, why would we ever want to limit our own community? I mean, raise your hand if you believe, because then the mic is definitely coming to you. If you think we should limit our community, and by the way, no one in this room, and no one in the next room, or the next room, or any room outside this hotel is in charge of the membership of our community. Our community, people with disabilities, mental health needs, people with special needs, seniors, the blind, the deaf, they are part of our community because they are part of our community. It's not because there's somebody says, oh, you're in a wheelchair, you're a part of our community, you can speak. Oh, you're not, you can't. Oh, you're not as disabled as the next person, or you're a family member, or you're a support worker, and somehow you're not as important as this other person over here. I challenge that view. And my work has proven that you can challenge a view and you can treat people with dignity and respect and equally, and you don't lose anything. You gain a lot more, and you gain allies. And you take away false adversaries, and you start approaching the real adversaries that we all face. There is no one in charge of the membership. And once we recognize that, we can get to the next step of looking out who are our allies. Now, someone said it's people who disrespect us or people who do respect us. That's kind of true. But I would argue, though, that our adversaries really isn't a person. I know that we want to say it's Governor Schwarzenegger, and I'm sure if you walked in a room, you would stand up and applaud. Right? No? Okay. I didn't think so. And like Frances there, she's holding, like her aim is pretty good. So, yeah. That's when I would probably just step aside and say, okay, you guys kind of deserve to do whatever you want to do. But honestly, though, if we really think about it, our adversaries really aren't people or a person. It's what they do. And we got to remember that, because we want to look at Governor Schwarzenegger, and he only has less than, a little bit under 6 weeks left, 8 weeks tops. Maybe, I know. But what happens if he doesn't leave, right? I mean, he lives in that hotel at the Hyatt Regency, and, what if he doesn't leave? So, I'm just saying, once he goes, we say he's our biggest adversary, then our problem is solved, right? No, yeah, absolutely not. Our adversaries are people who don't do the right thing. It's the action that's really our adversary. You've got to remember that. You know why? Because all those cuts that happened to us in 2009 and 2008 and 2007, I know that some of you are only thinking of in-home supportive services cuts, so you're only going back to 2009. But for those of you who think in a broader sense of our community, you will know that SSI and SSP has been cut for the last 9, almost 10 years in a row. They have been the population and the program that has been cut more times than any other. And you go back to 2001 and forward and looking at all the cuts that hit regional centers, which were cut by almost $500 million. You look at mental health services, Medi-Cal, all these cuts, the optional benefits that were eliminated. Governor proposed most of those. Governor Davis was a Democrat, proposed a lot of those cuts earlier in 2001, 2002, 2003. I was there. I was there when he was talking about proposing the elimination of the residual program. Everyone knows what that is, right, within IHSS. He was talking about that. Unfortunately, Governor Schwarzenegger did more than just talk about it. He actually proposed it. What happened when these governors, and I'm not saying they're all evil men or anything like that, but what happens when they propose it? Is it law?
No.
No, they have to have the
No.
house.
Now, definitely, they are bad proposals, and the proposals are our adversary, and we should fight them. But who approved them? And who controls the legislature? I'm a Democrat. I have great respect for Darrell Steinberg, for instance. I have great respect for many of the Democrats in both houses. But if we think that by virtue of party or whoever is in office that they are automatically our ally, and by virtue that Governor Schwarzenegger is a Republican and a conservative, or he proposed something, and therefore he's our adversary, we will miss our mark. That's not to say that Democrats are our enemies, because we're not using the word enemy here, we're using the word adversary. When a Democrat votes for a proposal that is harmful to our community, does it really matter that his party registration is Democratic, and he or she will come to us in a meeting and say, I'm your friend. And what do we say? We normally say, oh, you were, and then we bash Dr. Arnold Schwarzenegger.